What's up, YouTube? I'm Corey, and welcome to my channel, Let's Talk with Corey. Before I get started in today's reaction video, wherever you are in the world today, I mean wherever you are in the world today, I really do hope you're having a great day. Let me pause and give a shout out to my subscribers. Whether you've been with me since the beginning or you're checking in for the very first time, thank you for your support. Keith Lee, TikToker and viral food critic, is stirring the pot for Black-owned restaurants. So I'm going to read an article from complex.com, and it states, and here's the title: Keith Lee's TikTok food reviews had Atlanta's restaurant scene in shambles. What happened? And it starts by saying the popular TikTok food critic had an eventful week in Atlanta, where he reviewed restaurants and caused an uproar in the city's restaurant scene. Let me pause for a second. I want to give a shout out to JT, the realtor, who happens to be my cousin in Carolina. And a little over a year ago, he was talking to me about this viral TikToker, Keith Lee. But I didn't take out the time to investigate anything about him. And our basic conversation was simply about how people can potentially blow up on TikTok. And so I wasn't interested in really looking into who he was, but the conversation was just about how some TikTokers can really blow up on TikTok. And that's what it was about. So shout out to my cousin JT for basically bringing the guy's name up. And now I'm actually seeing more videos about him and what he's doing. In my view, he is adding value to especially small mom and pop restaurants, food trucks and things of that nature, who simply need to get business. And it's very hard to compete when you're a small business, when you have larger, big box restaurants all around serving the same stuff or better, but it gives the small restaurants some shine. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I had to pause for that, just to say that for a minute. So anyway, it says here, Keith Lee's TikTok food reviews have become the latest craze on social media, thanks to the former MMA fighter's blunt and honest takes on eateries around the country. However, Lee's latest trip to Atlanta has completely changed the landscape of the city's restaurant scene, due to him shining a light on some interesting rules and policies in the local food scene. Last month, the 27-year-old shared several food reviews of restaurants around the ATL. While he got to eat from some spots, others left him with nothing to grub on due to specific rules that out-of-towners are not familiar with. As usual, Lee kept his reviews as honest as possible, resulting in social media discussions on the Atlanta food scene that many locals say has the city in shambles. It also says here, it says some of those conversations have criticized various restaurants for their preference of keeping up with their social media presence rather than their service and food. Now look, I've taken some great photos of dishes that were prepared for my wife and I when we go out to 5-star restaurants. But I'll tell you what, the food and the service was equal, if not both were above average, because we don't play when it comes down to our money. And anybody, when you're going out to restaurants, you have an expectation. Now, there should be a better way of communicating rules and policies and things of that nature, because when people come to visit any city, right, and they see, Yelp or whatever review or about a restaurant, and it gets them excited to go check out a place, and only to find out that, you can't call an order in, or no one's answering the phone, or there's some deep cleaning going on, even though people are picking up orders. All right, I digress. It says here, so some of those conversations criticized various restaurants for their preference of keeping up with the social media presence rather than their service and food, as I've stated. Lee's reviews have even brought negativity into his own life, as people have threatened his and his family's safety, as he stated in one of his latest TikTok videos.
Okay, let's talk about it. Every restaurant that me and my family go to, we were either A, invited by the restaurant themselves, or B, was told about the restaurant 100 plus times. From locals, from people who mention me, from people who email me, DM me. 99% of the time, I never go to a random restaurant. With that being said, my opinion was asked for. So many narratives being pushed, and it's insane to me. But let's be honest, what else do you want from me? If I go to a bunch of restaurants and have a string of good experiences, then I'm being too nice, I'm lying, the narrative is being pushed that my eye roll is fake, and I'm lying just to help people. Then on the same hand, if I go to 2 or 3 restaurants where I don't have the best experience, now I'm tearing down businesses, now I'm being mean, now I need to shut up, now I need to mind my business, I need to sit down. Again, I can't win from this. I understand everybody gonna have an opinion on the situation. You can disagree with me, you cannot like what I say. Completely understand, I'm okay with that. But when my safety and my family's safety start coming into play, that's where I draw the line at. But what can't happen is when my family or the restaurants or anybody's safety start coming into play. It's absolutely overboard. Especially when I was asked to give my opinion. Because you telling me my opinion only matter if it's positive. Because if it's positive, you got my face plastered on the wall and you saying Keith Lee been here. But if it's negative, I need to sit down somewhere and you don't know who I am. That's crazy to me.
Okay, pump the brakes here. Guys, if Anthony Bourdain, which was one of my favorite parts unknown, obviously he's a world famous chef. Andrew Zimmern, Bizarre Foods, and then Man versus Food. Like any of these guys could come into a restaurant and give their take about or basically give a review of the food, whether it's great, subpar, or delicious, whatever the case may be. No one's going to go after them behind what they're saying about a particular restaurant or food. Now, Bizarre Foods is a little bit different, so I'm going to leave that one kind of off the list, but I used to watch those shows. But anyway, it says, so what happened while Keith Lee went to Atlanta, and why is the city reeling from these reviews? Who is a former mixed martial arts fighter turned food critic, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. He moved to Las Vegas, Nevada with his family about 10 years ago so that he and his brother, Kevin Lee, could pursue careers in professional fighting. Between 2017 and 2019, Lee put up an impressive 5-3 record with companies such as TKO, Final Fight Championship, and more before landing in Bellator, one of the biggest fighting promotions in the world. With Bellator, Lee posted a 2-2 record before losing his contract in 2021, which forced him to go back to the drawing board and find something more sustainable for himself and his family. He had his last professional fight in 2022 at A1 Combat 5, but as he told MMA Fighting in January of this year, I felt very expendable after I lost my contract with Bellator. I promised myself I was going to build something that no one can take away from me, and that's me being me, completely separate from anything else I do. It's just me, and you can't take away who I am. And this guy's really respectful. The videos that I've seen of him, the zooming in, zooming out, I think is really cool. And the other part is he shoots his videos from vehicles, just like I do. It's no elaborate, studio set, big expensive microphones. He's using his cell phone to do his food reviews and talk to his audience. It's same as me. I really love that. And it says here, how did Keith Lee build his TikTok following? It says, while he was still a professional fighter in 2020, Lee used TikTok to create various family and cooking-inspired content, alleviate his social anxiety, and prepare him for post-fighting interviews, which he said made him nervous. Some of those videos caught the attention of the popular YouTube channel, People vs. Food, and a collaboration with them led to a rise in Lee's already growing stock on social media. That's pretty awesome. From there, Lee and his wife turned to food-centric content by posting one review a day, and by 2021, the training wheels were off as the former pro fighter focused on smaller businesses that requested he try and rate their food in locations such as Los Angeles, New Orleans, New York, and Chicago. Lee became so popular for his honest reviews that he started sending family members to get food so he can have the same experience as regular people and avoid special treatment for restaurants. Okay, I get it. The family members were more anonymous, but they were no longer anonymous once they went into those restaurants in the ATL. Now, begs the question is your family 100% part of your food critic life? And yes, I guess after reading this, we could say yes, but do they deserve the same amount of attention as you And do they want that attention? Again, that's just my question. If I was talking to Keith Lee, is do your family, your family's safety is paramount. No one should be threatening anyone's life or the life of their family members behind visits to a restaurant. Come on, guys. That absolutely makes no sense. But are they vested as you're vested? Has it become a family a business and the food critic stuff that you're doing? That's all I got on that. I'll keep it moving. So it says, however, it's gotten harder for Lee to do that as his reviews have become a go-to source for many foodies across the country. Several restaurants that have received his coveted 10 out of 10 review reported an increase in sales, and customers such as a Las Vegas food truck called Southern Taste Seafood that went from making $200 a day to a 900% increase in revenue, thanks to Lee's review. Hey, that's great. And like I said before, when you are a small business and you are competing with those brick and mortar establishments, it is not easy getting attention to where you are until someone like Keith Lee steps in and actually tries your food, loves your food, and then other people can get excited about trying your food as well. So that's, a big, huge plus, and shout out to Keith Lee for doing that. And also, too, for the food truck owner for having phenomenal food. Fans has called the phenomenon the Keith Lee effect, but the man himself keeps things humble. He told today.com back in May, "I'm just a guy who records himself eating food." Hey, man, you got a stick, and it's worked for you. What happened during his food tour review in Atlanta, Georgia? Last month, Lee and his family took his food tour to Atlanta, Georgia, and what was supposed to be an exciting moment for fans turned into chaos. Atlanta's food scene has been growing and is home to several celebrity-owned restaurants. However, Lee's experience was not quite like the glowing comments the food scene has been getting lately. For starters, restaurants in Atlanta have rules that non-locals are unfamiliar with, such as no takeout orders, dine-in times, party size limits, and fluctuating hours. Several of Lee's videos highlighted these rules at places like the Atlanta Breakfast Club, where he was charged for extra butter and could only make a single order for the whole table. Spots such as a Real Milk and Honey and the Candy Burr's own Old Lady Gang said they wouldn't serve his family, but changed their policy once he arrived. "I pay for my food like everyone else. I walk up to spots like everybody else," said Lee in one of his reviews where he had no food. "We're all normal people, respectfully. If you're not going to do it, then don't do it now." Issues with ordering food ahead, lackluster customer service, and his family being denied only to get service after Lee showed up with them fueled discussion on social media, where people began sharing their own experiences at said restaurants. Despite his experiences, Lee also urged followers not to spam or trash these restaurants and recommend going there yourself to see what kind of experience you have. Now, that was a plus. So despite there was, people that were upset, or maybe restaurants and maybe supporters of those particular restaurants that weren't ready for Keith Lee's visit via his family, he didn't bash them. Hey, everyone's experience is different. You can go to the same restaurant 5 times and 5 times get 5 different experiences, from the same restaurant. It happens, right? And so, he says, hey, look, check it out for yourself. Says, "I do not support, condone, or agree with tearing down these businesses," said Lee in his Real Milk and Honey review. While we personally may not have had the best customer service experience, it does not mean you will have the same experience. It also don't mean go on Twitter and tear these businesses down. At the end of the day, business owners are people, and you never know what people are going through. That's true, right? A struggling business could be, in financial turmoil, and then all of a sudden, a positive review could skyrocket. Obviously, the business, the restaurant's receipts, or shut them down. So anyway, so the next one says, how did Atlanta restaurants respond to Keith Lee's reviews? Lee's reviews even brought on responses from some of the food spots. The Real Milk and Honey shared a since deleted video in which a person asked, "Who is this Keith Lee?" Due to the backlash, the restaurant shared another post apologizing and revealing changes were being made to their house rules. And in no way were they trying to discredit anyone. If the comments came across as such, kindly accept our apologies, read the statement. The house rules that are circulating are outdated, and current one is being published soon on our social platform so everyone can see it. It's a vibe, not rules. It says, according to Atlanta 11, Devon Green, part owner of another restaurant called Milk and Honey, has stated people have been confusing his establishment for one reviewed by Lee and sending him threats. Oh, that's terrible. A bomb from negative comments, death threats, threats to blow the building up, threats to end our business, Green said. We started getting bad reviews on Yelp. People were calling our phones. It was a nightmare. Now, see, that's where things can kind of go awry when you have a food critic like Keith Lee and you have two businesses that have similar names. And then, unfortunately, for this smaller establishment, similar name, getting all the hate by mistake. So hopefully Keith Lee can jump in and, make a statement about that. Burrs posted a video on her page stating, I just really want to say, I do appreciate Keith Lee for stopping by our restaurant and trying to show us love. It is very unfortunate that we couldn't serve him and his family, she said. On the weekends, we get a lot of community support. People in our city show up for us, as well as a lot of people from out of town. So with that being said, we don't want to overwhelm our kitchen by having long times for people who are actually at the restaurant, plus having to go orders. How did social media respond to Keith Lee's Atlanta restaurant reviews? People from the city and out-of-towners took to social media with their own takes on the Atlanta food scene. Many were happy to see Lee open a door on the city's restaurants and their arbitrary rules that have been seemingly ruined some people's experience of enjoying a good meal at a nice establishment. I'm so glad he's exposing how terrible these Atlanta restaurants are. One person tweeted, mid-ass food, dumb-ass rules, overpriced, saying on all their menus, nothing but grass walls, lamb chops, shrimp and grits, and hookah. Another said, the fact that people are putting a statewide PSA because Keith Lee is in Atlanta is hilarious. The grass walls are shaking off the walls. He got Atlanta Breakfast Club, and Cardi B even took to her Instagram Live to talk about Lee's reviews and how difficult it is to get food in Atlanta. If you're not a celebrity, I feel like Atlanta restaurants don't like to make money, said Cardi B. I feel bad for Atlanta residents. Thank you, Jesus, I'm famous. But even me being famous is like a hassle. So guys, I'm going to end it there. This was a long article, but it was very, very informative. I feel like I learned a lot about Keith Lee and about his experiences, and also how others felt about Keith Lee's visit to the ATL. This guy blew up on TikTok. He's obviously super famous at this point, all right? And people love what he's doing. Keep up the good work, Keith Lee, and never compromise. Keep doing what you're doing. And as always, guys, leave a comment. Thanks for stopping by. Let's talk with Corey. Let's talk with Corey out.